This is the simplest thing I've ever created, but it's actually had the most impact. We are over here in our current position, and over here there are things that bother us about where we are. These are frustrations. And we are trying to get over here, and this is kind of our ideal. And in between here, who can help us? And these are internal, and who can help us? And these are external. If you're in a highly saturated market right now, like most people are, trying to compete head to head with people over and over and over versus carve out kind of a niche is a real important strategy, right? Because that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. How do you take an idea and convert it to execution of the idea? And so when I look at the coaching space, because a lot of people come to me for coaching advice, it's like it's highly commoditized. There's too many people competing for the space. There's roughly 800,000 people today that call themselves a coach. There's relatively no entry into that, no matter if they've had success or not had success. It really deeply commoditizes the game of coaching. You with me? Now with the advent of AI, now people feel like they can get a coach at any time. So, one of the things we're actually looking at is taking all of my content, all of my 22 books, and then dumping it into AI, all of the work I've ever done, and then I could actually sell my brain to people, okay? And they could buy that, and then you could have Coach Burt anytime you want it, 24/7, and you would say, what would Coach Burt do right here? And it'd say, boom, this is what Coach Burt would do. Now, a lot of, and people are doing this right now, but I'm like, okay, we just don't want to call it Coach Burt's brain, okay? What do we call it? Do we call it coach? Do we call it this? Do we call it that? Like I'm thinking, how do we separate? Okay, so that's really Darren's strategies, that blue ocean strategy. He's been very successful going into churches and doing that. Okay, and now the second thing is you saw Ken Coleman yesterday, right? What did you guys take away from Ken Coleman? Because you would see...
Self-awareness is the key to unlock growth for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Stuffing it.
Yeah.
Stuffing it.
When you read his book, The Proximity Principle, you could sum that book up into really two words. A lot of success is getting to the right place and being around the right people. And when he was in a bad spot, something kept telling him, go to the place, go where the people are that I want to emulate. Okay? Like go get around those people who already know how to do what you want to do. And emulate it. So that's a lot of success is like, not all learning is like this. A lot of learning is through observation, okay? And watching people do what you want to do and seeing if you can get as close as you can to those people to actually observe how do they think, how do they talk, how do they walk, how do they operate, how do they handle decisions, how do they handle risk, right? And that's really what that book about. So he was in a bad place. He's like, I got to get to the right place. And we use that methodology here at the Greatness Factory is you got to get to the big table, okay? Now at 18 years old, I started going to coaching clinics. I was a young basketball coach, and I started going to coaching clinics by a great coach here in Nashville named Don Meyer. And Don Meyer was the head coach at David Lipscomb University. He actually won more games than John Wooden. Very few people know this, but he was at a Division II Christian college called David Lipscomb University, and he would do free coaching clinics, and like 800 coaches would come. And he was the guy who I first learned as a basketball coach, every player had a notebook. Every player took notes on life. Every player took out trash. So his players would show up to meeting. They sat in the front 1/3 of the seat. They made eye contact with the instructor. They carried a notebook everywhere they went. And he would teach them life. He would use basketball to teach how to be successful. And I would sit up there as a young basketball coach. Man, I would just read and take notes. And I go, okay, when I grow up and be a big-time basketball coach, I'm going to do it just like he does it. Every player has a notebook. Every player does this. Every player sits in the front 1/3 of their seat, right? We all take out trash. And when you made mistakes, the whole team had to do push-ups. So every mistake you made, he'd say down, and they would do it in unison. 1, 2, like a little army. And I watched them practice, and it was like machines. It wasn't even like real humans. Everything was the synchronicity of how they did things was amazing. And so that was my first example. And he was the guy who said, if you don't read another book this year, go buy a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I went straight to the bookstore and bought that book. Book kind of opened my mind. And I go, when I become a coach, I'm going to teach my players the 7 habits. of highly effective people. Okay, that was the guy who opened my mind. Okay, now, so a lot of my learning is through observation. When I'm in a coaching program like this, when I was in Strategic Coach, when I went to Chicago, I'd go, okay, now how did they build this building? And how do they do the breaks? And how do they, like, where does the content come from? And how's this guy running a $40 million coaching program, but he takes off 200 days a year? See, I was in a program where the guy who created the program took off 200 days a year. He called them free days. He was completely off. And he kind of built this structure, and it was a $40 million program. And I was sitting there going, gosh, how did this guy do this? He built this great team around him, and they do this. And I really would go to learn not only the content, but I would also go learn how he did it. So a lot of learning is methodology. So questions, when you come here, it's like, how did Coach Burt build this $8 million building? Where did the money come from? How does he keep it going? What does he do? How does he market it? How does he get people in the doors? Like these are things you need to be thinking, which is kind of a deeper level of learning than just sitting and listening to somebody talk, right? It's kind of interactive. Okay? All right, we're going to have a lot of fun today, and I like the small groups. I was with, I almost said boring insurance people yesterday, but I wouldn't say that because you're an insurance guy. I spoke at an insurance conference in Dallas, Texas, and I think it was Mass Mutual, but it was great people. It took them about 10 minutes to get warmed up to me. It's kind of a slow warm-up. They just looked at me like, oh, Lord. And then we got into it, and then we had fun, right? All right, so today we've got one big concept that we're going to work through, and that is, how do you take an idea and see that idea through to its conclusion? Okay, and what are the prohibitors from taking an idea to execution? Okay, now many of you are new to the coaching program. Some of you have been with me. Richard actually goes back with me 10 years, 15 years.
One of the, in between, I believe.
I used to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and there'd be 4 people there. Richard was one of them. It was 10 or 15 years ago. And I woke my whole team up. We rode on a bus. We left at 4 o'clock in the morning. My team hated me. And they would wear, they were cold, and we'd get on a little sprinter bus that I had, and we'd drive to Chattanooga, and we'd coach 4 people. Then we'd go to Knoxville, Tennessee, and coach 4 more people. And then we'd come home. And that was a long day. But that's how it started, right? So many of you have not done this exercise, and but everything we do, as you know, is going to go back to a key thing, okay? And I was telling Cody this morning, which is when this is the simplest thing I've ever created, but it's actually had the most impact. And I don't even know where I came up with the concept, but the concept was that we are over here in our current position, and over here there are things that bother us about where we are. These are frustrations, okay? And we are trying to get over here, and this is kind of our ideal, okay? And in between here are kind of 2 things. Who can help us? And these are internal. And who can help us? And these are external. Hey, this is Coach Michael Burt. I'm here at the Greatness Factory today, the Level 10 podcast studio. And as you can see behind, I got new imaging. I got a new concept. The big table is a metaphor for the biggest opportunities that are available to you that you're trying to work toward in your life. We're going to go to work on activating 3 parts of your nature. You first, that's science of winning. That's habits of the top 1%. That's the language that we use every single day. That's the activation of prey drive. That's the A to B exercise that we do. And then we're going to go to work on your business. And the business is got these 6 core components, right? The activation of your team's prey drive, the explanation of value, the lead generation system, the follow-up and conversion, the engagement after the sale. We then move to activating your wealth. 8-figure people stuck in 6-figure vehicles. How do we expose you to some of the best thought leaders in the world as it relates to what's going on in the market, how to make investments, how to raise capital, and put all this together, folks, and we are getting a seat at a much bigger table. I'm Coach Michael Burt. I can't wait for you to see this podcast. It's called The Big Table. We're going to help you secure your seat there. Follow along, engage with me, hit that subscribe button. Now, if you've used the Prey Drive Planner, I then move into the biggest opportunities that are available to us. And these would be what we call level 10 opportunities. So these are big, juicy opportunities. I'm doing a lot of studying on quantum leaps. Most of my time is spent now on how to have explosive growth. I've spent so many years of my life as a grinder, 80-hour work weeks, doing it the hard way, and I'll be 49 on Sunday. And I'm just now getting to how do I make big, significant jumps versus incremental jumps. Okay? So when I do this exercise of A to B, this literally is what we're going to work through today. Like, how do we come up with an idea that we go, our life would be better if this happened? See, the reason we want to move over here is we're bothered by things over here. It's like we're frustrated, which is a good thing. Because the more frustrated we get, the more we're going to move into an action. We believe if we just got over here, we'd be happy. Okay? Now, for you defensive pessimists in the room, the truth is when you get over here, it's an illusion. You're going to think you're going to be happier when you get over here. Okay? Have you ever heard me talk about when I first bought a jet in 2017, 2018, and my very first trip was to Chicago, and I was so excited I was going to be flying on my jet. And I got out there, and I got there at 9:58, and I was on the plane by 10:03 and in the air by 10:08. And I go, this is crazy. Like, I got here at 9:58. They were waiting. The plane was waiting on me. The pilots were on the plane. I walked through the thing, no security, and I walked out to my plane, and I'm going to fly up to Chicago and speak and come home that day. And I thought, this is the coolest thing in the world. And I think, I've made it. Like, I'm there. And then right as I started to pull out, a big Gulf Stream, like 550, pulls up beside me. And I'm on my Hawker 400, which is a 7-passenger jet. It's about a $2 million jet. But then this, $25 million jet pulls up beside me, and I go, well, dang. Like, I got a little starter jet. Compared to that, like, I want one of those. Isn't that how life is, though, right? It's like you think you make it, and then somebody pulls up beside you, and it's like, well, that's really what I need. So what happens to us, there's two types of people. There's what's called a defensive pessimist and a strategic optimist. And this is kind of how God hardwired you. I am by nature a defensive pessimist. It doesn't mean I'm a negative person. It just means the way my brain operates, it can focus more on the negative than the positive. So one of the new things I've been doing is at the end of every day, I sit down and I kind of map out 3 wins that I had for that day.
Does that help you?
It does. Because I used to go home and I would, as soon as I would walk in the door, I'd tell my wife about all the negative things that happened that day. I'd say, you ain't never going to believe what this person did. And you ain't never going to believe this. And you ain't never going to believe this. And she said, before we go there, I'd like 3 positives.
Oh, that's good.
And I'd go, I can't find 3 positives. But think about it this way. If you had 3 wins a day, these are 3 things you said I'm going to set out to do. And they were big, not small, big things. And you accomplished those 3 things, and those were your 3 wins. 3 times 5 is 15 a week. Okay? That's 60 a month. That's 720 wins a year. Okay? So yesterday, my wins were, I had a good performance in Texas. Felt like good about my performance. We raised several $100,000 for one of our funds. Okay? And we rented the theater yesterday. One of my big initiatives right now is renting this space. This is a new space. It's hard. I'm trying to get the word out to people in Nashville. So we're typically renting at about $7,500 per day to get this whole space. So that adds up financially if we can keep this thing rented. You with me? But I'm competing versus a lot of things out there. So there's a lot of noise. So we're working on 2 bookings this week that would generate about $30,000 and 2 bookings, $15,000 a piece. And those add up quickly. That's where the real money can be made here, from renting the venue. You with me? So I'm like, that's a win. We got a deposit and we got a booking. And I'm like, there's 3 wins, okay, for yesterday. Now, a lot of other things happen, but my point is, we actually believe that if we get over here, our life will be easier, it'll be better, it'll be more fun, it'll be more enjoyable, which gives us something to push toward. Okay, so this can be qualitative. Qualitative means I can't measure it. I can feel it. I'm happier. I feel better about myself. I'm having more fun. That's qualitative. Quantitative is, it's very specific. Okay, it's very specific. Your company's doing X in revenue, X in profit. You're doing this, right? It's like tangible things. Why is that important for the brain? Why is that important?
The reticular activating system.
Yeah, the brain is lazy.
Progress.
Yeah. You're measuring progress versus perfection. If you are a perfectionist, then you could have a perfect day, and you would literally focus on the one negative thing that happened that day. You could have 1,000 positive things happen and go home, and your brain will actually focus 3 times more on the negative than it does the positive. It also measures perceived loss at 3 times the rate it does perceived gain. So when you're trying to take risk, like some people think I have a pretty high tolerance for risk, and I probably do. I'm willing to make bigger bets financially than some people are. Like building this place was a big risk. It's never been done before. We didn't know if it'd work or not work. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come to me and go, God, I can't believe you did it. Like you've been talking about doing it. You actually did it. So what do a lot of people do? They talk about doing things for their whole life. And I've already made up my mind we're not going to fail. We're going to learn something. I probably overspent $1 million on this place. Just by not knowing, by pure ignorance. Trusting people, not knowing. If I went to do this again, and I got plans yesterday sent to me for one in Cool Springs, because I'm looking at Cool Springs, I'm looking at Chattanooga, I'm looking at Knoxville, I'm looking at various cities. If I went to do that again, I'd probably save $1 million by doing it, right? I know exactly how to build it, what I like, what I don't like, what worked, what didn't work, but I didn't know that until I did it. Most people will never do it because they'll weigh the perceived loss more than they will the perceived gain. Okay? So they can't take an idea to execution because of fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear they'll lose everything, fear of whatever. So they can't ever go from here to here because of all these fears that they have that are really irrational. A lot of them are irrational, right? So are they real? Yes. Could it happen? Yes. But we got to make up our mind we're going to find a way to win. So when I'm doing A to B, this is actually what I'm doing. Is I'm going, there's 3 things today that bother me. Okay? And this is where I'm trying to get to. And these are the people I need internally or externally. Now, this does not mean more employees. It could mean independent contractors. It could mean specialists. Okay? It could mean, right? Some people think I got to go hire more people. I don't. It could be you need an assistant. It could be you need an independent contractor, right? And these are external people, which are strategic partners. People you need to move toward this goal. Okay? Now, I'm going to give an example. I keep this on my desk because I have this lodge. How many of y'all been to the lodge out in Christiana? Okay? So I got this beautiful 8,000 square foot lodge out in Christiana, and I absolutely love it. It sits on 27 acres. So I have 27 acres of land, and I've got an 8,000 square foot lodge that most of the time sits unrented. I mean, I take my kids out there on Sunday and we play, and they love it. I ride the Polaris on the land. You with me? And I feel like, Yellowstone. And I'm like, look at all this land I got. And I ride the kids around on Saturday and they love it, or Sunday and they love it Sunday afternoon. And it's really my wife saying, hey, take these kids somewhere before I lose my mind. And I'm like, okay, we're going out to the lodge, kids. And they're like, yes. Now, but I have these 27 acres and I have this beautiful place. I mean, it is beautiful. When you walk in, it's like, this is crazy. Okay, and I bought that for $1.3 million, which was a steal. I mean, a steal. Okay? It is now worth about $2.4, $2.5 million because we just had it reappraised. And I thought that was low, to be honest with you. But based on the market we're in right now. But anyway, when I ride out to that lodge, here's what I think. I have an asset that is undercapitalized. Okay? That asset costs me $12,000 to $13,000 a month, right? What do I do with this asset? So I put over here, I'll just write one word, lodge. And that will trigger my brain to go, that needs attention. What could I do with that lodge, right? So at one time, we were going to build tiny houses out there. And we were going to rent those tiny houses, okay? Because I got this 27 acres of land, okay? But we don't have, the sewer does not come all the way out to, it's on the back of our property, actually. We went through 5 engineers, and finally the 5th engineer said, you do have sewer. It's on the back of your property. 4 other engineers said, you don't have it, you don't have access to it. And one guy kept going and said, I will figure this out. And he did. He found it. It's on the back of our property. It's just a long way to run it to these 27 acres, right? And so he comes back and he says this will cost about $250,000 to do it this way, or it'll cost about $500,000 to do it this way. Now on this property is this beautiful barn, but it's old and it needs to be redone. So I see these barn dominiums and I'm like, okay, we could do the barn dominium, but what will we do there? Do we want to be in the wedding business? Do we not want to be, like we do some weddings, but not a lot, you know what I'm saying? We don't really want to be in the wedding business, right? I'd rather do corporate retreats, but the lodge only has 4 bedrooms, so people can't really stay there because you don't have enough bedrooms. You see where I'm going? So I'm like, got this beautiful property that has tremendous potential, but I can't figure out what to do with it. Okay? So I am bothered. Everybody see how I'm bothered by that? Then I go, in my ideal world, because I'm showing you how I take an idea to execution. Want to come in? Yeah, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you. So I'm bothered by this, and I go, okay, in my ideal world, what is happening here? In my ideal world, what am I doing? Well, in my ideal world, it's rented X number of times. Is it corporate retreats? So I'm at a real estate thing. It may have been the STR thing. How many of y'all came from STR? Anybody come from STR, the STR conference I just spoke at? Okay, so I'm at this, which is short-term rentals. I just speak at this big short-term rental conference at the city center. And I'm talking about this to people, and I'm like, okay, I got this beautiful lodge, what am I going to do with it? And one person said, why don't you just subdivide it and build your own subdivision? And I go, what? Like, I've never thought about that. Right? Like adding, like farmhouses. I got 27 acres. I'm not using all those acres. Like, is that even an option? Okay, now I'm trying to show you how to do this. Whether I do this or don't do it, or whether I just redo the barn, or right? Because to build these little tiny houses, it's going to cost X amount of dollars. I got to run the sewer to it. So so let's just say my ultimate goal here is I want this activated. So when I'm taking an idea and I'm trying to move toward execution idea, what's my very first move I should do? So when you hear me say, we need to go from mental creation. So I've created something in my mind. That's a mental construct. And in my mind, I see something happening at that lodge. Right, KC? It's rented. If something's happening, corporate retreats are there. There's movement. Right? I did country music. I had like Randy Houser there one night, which was incredible. I've had country music concerts there. Not like big things, but just local things with 50 people, 100 people. It's super cool. Right? I do a lot of coaching. I do person of interest out there. So in my brain, I can go there in my mind. I got this asset. It's beautiful. So I could sell it and probably pick up $1 million or $2 million and put in my bank account. Or 1031 exchange it into something else. Okay, so that's an option. I could figure out how to build these little houses, but it's going to cost this much money. I could partner with someone. Who could I partner with? A builder, somebody who could develop it. I could partner with somebody who builds barn dominiums. There's all kinds of things I could do with it. So the first thing, this is the first problem when it comes to idea to execution, is we're not clear. And I wrote about this in the book A to B. We have opportunity confusion. And opportunity confusion is, we could do all these things. And that is a problem. Because the brain needs you to tell it exactly what you want it to do. Yes?
So I was with Coach 10 plus years ago when he started talking about, hey, I'm gonna build these things called the Greatness Factory.
Yep.
And everything. So, okay, so you have that over here.
Yep.
So since we're sitting in the Greatness Factory, what did you do to move that to an executable idea?
Okay, all right. So the first thing I did is I went to see it. So the first thing I did before I started building the Greatness Factory is I wanted to go see similar places. and I wanted to touch them, and I wanted to walk in and tour them. Okay, and I wanted to see them. And what I found when I was building this place, there was entrepreneur centers. Austin has a capital factory that is 80,000 square foot. This is 8,000 square foot. Austin has one that's 80,000 square foot. Started as co-working. So I went to Austin. The very first step is to go somewhere and see it, to touch it. Like if I wanted a real resort, first step is to go to a resort and see what they do. How do they make money? What do they do? What's the economic model here? Okay, so the first step is to get clear in what it is you're trying to create. Okay, and I'll actually work through the model today of if I were to scale this to Chattanooga, to Cool Springs, I just can't keep doing it with my own money. You reach a point where you just can't keep self-funding everything. You follow me? So you got to use other people's money. But it's got to be a win for them. Okay? So it's like in this particular case, my first thing when I'm thinking about the lodge is to explore my possibilities. And I may go, okay, there's 4 things I could do here. I could sell it. I could redo the barn. I could build the tiny houses. You know, as far as subdividing it, I don't even know if that's a possibility or not. That's just an idea somebody had. So these are 4 big ideas that I have right here. So the very first thing I need to do is I go from mental See, I don't sit on ideas for a long time. I had an idea, and I'm going to take an action on it. And the action on it is, who can I go find? And in this case, it's one of these. So the very first thing I do is I call a person owns a wedding venue. And I say, tell me about these weddings. Here's what she said. I hate this business. She's like, oh, we're selling this business. She's like, there's somebody here every weekend. We're doing this. You're like, right? And I'm like, are you making a lot of money? She's like, we made a bunch of money, but it's totally taking care over our life, and we hate it. We're selling it. Okay. And then I say, well, what if I partnered with a wedding company that wanted to rent my space, and they had their weddings, but they used my space? Then I had a group, White Dove, I brought them out there. And I said, hey, would you guys like to rent this space? And you could have 3 more weddings a month, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then I'm kind of working through this. And then I pick up the phone and I call a home builder named John Floyd. John Floyd founded Old South Properties. He's probably built thousands and thousands and thousands of homes. He was one of my clients for a number of years. And I go, hey man, what could I do with this land? Could it be developed? Could it be developed? Could I add 4 to 5 houses on it? Could we do this? And he said, let me take it to my guy and let me look at it. Let me look at the land. Let me look at everything. And then why don't you and I ride out there and look at it, right? Now look at how fast I went to action. I could sit for years and think about this. So when Sullivan wrote the book, Who, Not How, that is a brilliant concept. The first thing you need to do when you have an idea is find your who's. If I'm a real estate, are you in the real estate business? Mm-hmm. If I'm a real estate agent and I want to do 100 deals a year, the very first thing I need to do is ask this question: who's doing 100 deals in this market? And how do I go spend a day with them? Who jumped from 20 to 60? Who did this to this? Like when I was a coach, it's like I wanted to go spend time. Like I would go watch Mike Krzyzewski at Duke practice, literally. They would let you come watch him practice. I'm like, I can go to Duke and watch Krzyzewski, and I could go to, wherever, and I could watch whoever. Most of the time, the coaches would say, yeah, come watch us practice if you want to watch us. And I'd get to go just watch, how does Krzyzewski handle the players? How does he talk to them? How do they practice? How hard do they practice? How long is the practice? What do they do in the weight room? Who is the strength coach? So it's like the very first thing you need to do when you're thinking about idea to execution is you sit down and you do this right here, and this is just one idea, okay? And it's like, okay, the first thing I need to do is I need to go from mental creation into a physical action. And the physical action is I need to go find a who. Who is my who? And then I need to move toward that person. And it's not like I need to hire them. Many times what I need is information from them. See, I don't even know if I can develop this land out there. But I know when I take a guy out there who's developed 10,000 houses in his life, he's going to be able to tell me immediately. What if he says when we're right out there, hey, I'll give you, what's a lot go for out in Christiana? An acre.
Probably about 2, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
What, 200,000?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. So I like that number. So what if he says, or what if he says, I'll give you $50,000 an acre, and I'll take 10 acres, and I just made how much money? I just made $500,000 on land I'm currently not even doing anything with. Right? Now, what if I really wanted that barn to be redone, that could be used, and I go, it's part of the deal. I want to redo this barn so that the people who have houses here can use it and I can use it. Is that a possibility? Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See, all of it's possible. All they can do is tell me no, right or wrong.
Right.
Okay. So you're going to find, as we work through this today, you're going to find that the one thing missing in a lot of people is just boldness.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable boldness to ask. So I went down and spoke at a car dealership a few weeks ago, and Chevy, and the guy was 70-something years old that owned it. He owned all of them. He's the one who had all the money, and I was coaching all these salespeople. And at first, it's like I could sell them coaching, which we did. Like their top manager is in our coaching program, and he's outperforming everybody because he's getting coached. But I said, man, tell you what, let's do one better. What if I became a partner in the dealership? And I would really be a lot more inclined to coach these people if I got a percentage of the sales. You with me? That's bold. Yes or no?
Yeah.
All they can do is tell me no. See, when people come to me now and want me to help their companies, especially if they're startups or this, I'll say, I could help you with this company, but I would like 12.5% of the company. And some people go, you got it. Or they may go, well, let's start with 10 and then we can bump it up to 12.5 or whatever. Because I'm really exchanging my skill for their problem.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, what if we take it, an idea and make it into a $10 billion idea? Okay? Now, if you go back and watch the movie Bezos in the beginning, it was about Jeff Bezos coming up with the idea of Amazon. He's making a lot of money at D.E. Shaw, which is a consulting firm. His boss says, go find us a new product to sell. And he's online looking. And he sees that the internet is up 2,300% during those days. Like people going there and buying things and doing things. And he goes to his boss and says, look, this is it. We need to be on the internet. We need to be selling these things. And his boss said, well, that's a good idea, but we're not going to do it. Now he's got a decision to make. Do I stay here and keep making $250,000, which is a lot of money in those days? Or do I leave and go start this thing? He didn't even have a name for it. He was going to sell books online. He went to his parents and he said, I would like $300,000 to invest in his company. I don't even have a name for it. This is what we're going to do. His stepdad, gave him $300,000, and that was all he had. It was all of his life savings, $300,000. You know what that $300,000 is worth today?
Mm-hmm.
It's like $1 billion. $1 billion with a B. Bezos only owns, I get them mixed up, I think he owns less than 10% of Amazon. And he's the wealthiest person, one of the wealthiest people in the world, in the United States at least, right? Musk only owns 10 to 12% of Tesla. So they would rather have a small piece of a big thing than own the whole thing, which is a trend I'm starting to see as I get older with very successful business people. So when I'm working with a deal, a guy says, I'll give you 12.5% because I want your skill set. He would rather have me have 12.5% of something like this than it'd be, say, like this, and him own 100% of it. Okay? Now, look at what I have to do here to take an idea. So this is why I just keep this on my desk. This is a reminder, and it triggers my brain. My brain is like a file folder. Every time I see something, it opens a file. Every time I look at this, guess what I'm reminded of? I need to do some of that lodge. I need to do some of that lodge. I need to do some of that lodge. What am I going to do? Okay, so I'm going to work my options. So I call the engineer and I go, is there any other creative option you got? You're telling me it's $250,000 to $500,000 to run the sewer. Okay, have I lobbied the local government? Have I talked to the mayor? Have I said, is there any way you can bring the sewer out here? Are you going to bring the sewer out here? No, I haven't. I haven't lobbied him. I haven't. Is that an action I could take, yes or no? Yes. Okay, so see, I'm trying to get you to think, when I have an idea, I need to get out of thinking about it. I need to sit down and do this exercise, and I need to ask who. Now let me give you a second part of this. If I tell you I want to rent that theater, then I need to go find a business development person that does nothing but wake up every day and rent the theater. It's most likely a meeting planner. Somebody's got great people skills. Somebody's got a lot of hustle. Somebody that's willing to get out and meet and greet people in Nashville. Somebody that's willing to go and do this, right? That is not me. Okay? I'm on the road. I speak all over the place. I'm not going to go to every one of these meetings in Nashville and figure out who the player is and who I got to talk to and who books all the conventions and who handles all that. But somebody wakes up every day and that's what they love to do. Okay? So I put out there, hey, I'm looking for somebody. I may put it on social media, on Facebook. Hey, man, I'm looking for somebody who's perfectly suited, who wants to rent my theater, right? Right? And I think this person can earn this much money, whether it be commission-based or whatever kind of structure we come up with. And I'm looking for this person right here. And that is an internal person. Now, if I go partner with external groups, Meeting Planners International, the Nashville Convention Center, those are external people. But I sit down and I go, okay, what do I want? If this theater has the earning power of $840,000 a year, that's $840,000 more dollars that could come in if I just rented it 3 days a week. Just 3. Okay? So this is a huge asset. So over here, I'd put the Greatness Factory. That's all I would write when I'm doing the exercise. Everybody see that? And you would literally see me do it. When you see me do it on planes, you would see me do it over and over and over like this. Okay? So I'm actually doing the exercise that I'm showing you to do. I'm actually identifying my who's. I'm trying to figure out how I would pay these people. And then I'm putting my big opportunities in. And then I'm telling my brain I need to go from mental creation into physical action. Here's what I find out when I coach people. A lot of people know what they should be doing. They actually know. They just don't ever do it. It's like, what is keeping you from moving from A to B? Okay, now when you study quantum leap thinking, 10x thinking, Hardy's got the new book out, The Science of Scaling. 10x is easier than 2x, right? What they really say is you get rid of 80% of what you're doing. You only focus on 20% of things that are the highest yielding things. Everybody see that? It's like 80% of what you're doing is like, why am I even doing this? It's a total low value activity. This is the big table. This is where the big money is. This is where the big opportunity is. Okay? So as we're working through these exercises today, it's like, what is your idea? Because you're actually sitting in, I don't know, $8 to $10 million idea that I had. I just had the grit and resilience and the toughness to actually see it through to its conclusion. You follow me? Yeah. And that's something that's missing in a lot of people. They don't have that part. Okay? So it's like, what is the idea? Okay? And then how do we move through this exercise? Because at any given time, the truth is, when I'm doing the exercise and I'm going A to B, I've typically got 3 frustrations here. Then I'm moving toward my B. But one of my biggest B's simply is my passive income is greater than my living expenses. Okay? And I like to tell people I'm a simple guy. I go shopping once or twice a year. And I told my buddy this. I said, man, I'm just a simple guy. And he said, I know. That's got 4 houses and a jet. He's like, you are simple. But I like nice things. Right? Because I didn't grow up with a lot of nice things when I was a kid. So I like a nice car. I like a nice house. I have a lot of emotional tax on me from traveling around the world. I like to come home, and that's why I like the lodge so much. It gives me a sense of peace. I like writing books. It gives me a place to go to write books. You follow me? So when I hear people say, well, things don't make you happy, I always say, well, they ain't had nice things. I don't mean that in a bad way. They don't make me happy like my kids make me happy. You with me? But there are things, being in this Greatness Factory, because I've been on the road quite a bit, when I came down this morning, I was like, I love this place. It makes me happy. It gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me a sense of accomplishment. You with me? Okay, so I'm not like a monetary person, like it's all about money to me. But I do understand that there's a sense of setting a goal and achieving a goal. And the way I'm wired, the way God wired me was like to set a target and go reach a target. I'm most unhappy when I'm not progressing towards something. Okay? And it doesn't matter how beautiful it is. I can be on an island in the Bahamas and be miserable if I don't think I'm moving towards something. Okay? That's just me. So when you think about it, if B is here at any given time, I want you to really understand this though. You may have 4 or 5 things happening, and these actually may be 4 different opportunities. They could be 4 different businesses that need something to happen. So I'm looking at it like this. I have a coaching business, then I have a greatness factory, then I have the lodge, then we have a private equity fund, then we have Blue Marlin Capital, which is investing in the data centers, and then I have companies that I have equity in. Look at these opportunities. This is how I generate money. I could sit here one day and come in and go, Richard, the biggest out of all of these, one of these starts to show up as it's the biggest opportunity. Right? And this is what I really want you to understand. If we go out and raise $100 million over here in this private equity fund and we go buy $400 million worth of real estate, then I got a lot of equity over here. That's a big opportunity. We just raised 15, 16 million for data centers. Big opportunity, right? Lodge, in the grand scheme of things, this is an opportunity, but it ain't as big as these opportunities.
Right.
Everybody with me?
Yeah.
I just like the note to get paid at the lodge.
Yeah.
Okay? So did everybody see that?
Yeah.
Now, Greatness Factory, I may go Chattanooga, Cool Springs, Knoxville, Huntsville. That's my vision. Within an hour. Places I can go within an hour to 2 hours and get there. Okay? Big opportunity. What do I want at MBE? I want 500 members. See how I'm setting targets? All of these are ideas. These are businesses. Then I can look at, you may say, well, this, it's a lot to handle. I'm using one skill in all the businesses. Just one, same skill. But every business has frustrations, and every business has things that we need to be doing over here. Every single business. Okay? Now, let's stop there and take any questions before we take our first break. So a lot of coming up with an idea, the size of the idea has a lot to do with the size of the people you're around. Okay? If you're around a lot of small thinking people, then you're going to have a lot of small ideas.
Can you elaborate on the delineation between a business developer and a salesperson?
Feel the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a business development person is probably more skilled. Like, let me put it into buckets. Let's say I'm generating 1,000 leads a month for the coaching business. What I really need are closers. But a lot of people come to me and say, I could sell for you, okay? But selling an intangible is a lot harder than selling a product. Like a person selling these iPhones, this ain't hard. People walk in there and they buy a phone. Well, a salesperson at Apple go, I'm the #1 salesperson at Apple. Okay? It's easy to sell this because people go in there to buy it. To sell coaching is very hard. You got to get a person on the phone. You got to convince them they need it. You got it, right? You got to overcome their objections. You got to, okay? So a lot of people come to me and say, I could sell coaching, but then they've never sold an intangible before. They've never sold a future before. So it takes a lot of skill. And to be honest with you, when I get on the phone with a person, a lot of the salespeople, even if they've been around me for years, don't know all the experiences I've had. So I could say, oh yeah, I work with a steel manufacturing company. That was a $20 million company. And I did this and we did this. And they don't even know all this. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to sell a program, and I'm really selling a skill set. Okay? I'm selling a set of knowledge. They're trying to sell a program. I'm like, don't sell a program. Sell an outcome. What's an outcome of being coached? You're going to perform at a higher level. You're going to think bigger. If you put in one word, being coached by me, you're going to play at a much higher level. It's that simple. You're going to think bigger. You're going to make bigger moves. It's that simple, okay? Now, so business development person, I think, is more sophisticated. They're going to come in, figure out how to generate leads, how to convert those leads. They're going to see opportunity. They're going to come up with ways to generate business. A salesperson is going to say, where's the leads? And how do I close these leads? And they're going to sit there and wait on me to generate the leads. I'm really thinking of a person that comes in and does this as a person that has a know-how of how to get out there And I'm going to say, here's your training manual. And it's got nothing in it. Good luck. Okay? That's like, I'm looking for a person that comes with batteries included. Okay. And they go, I've already done this. I'd like to do it for you. Now, when we come into how we compensate that person, then you get into all these, what's the value exchange? What is a fair compensation for that person? Everybody, no matter who they are, including me, overvalues themselves. You with me? And I always look at it like this. I charge $25,000 when I go to speak. Okay? That's what I charge. But not everybody can pay $25,000. And they will come back to me and say, gosh, we really want you, but we do not have $25,000 in the budget. Could you do it for $15,000? And I go, okay, well, who are we going to be in front of? Will I enjoy it? Do I want to go there? Do I not want to go there? Is it a group of people I want to speak to, not speak to? You see where I'm going? Now, we had a request last week for me to go speak in San Angelo, Texas, and he said, as a bonus, we're going to go helicopter hog hunting. And I went, do you know me? Do I look? I know I grew up in Woodbury, but I don't go helicopter hog hunting, okay? So he's like, this is going to be fun. Like, you're going to come in and work with our people, and then we're going to go helicopter hog hunting. And I'm like, okay, I can come in and do the coaching, and y'all can go hog hunting, okay? So, it's like some of the things I want to do, some of the things I don't want to do. But so when you're thinking about it, that's a good question. What I'm looking for most right now is a person that can get on the phone. Yesterday, this is a good example, I generated 58 leads at the speaking engagement. So I spoke, and I gave them something, my Pray Drive Planner. That doesn't mean they want to sign up for coaching. Now I need somebody who's creative, who can go, how do I get them on the phone? How do I get them to a strategy call? And if they signed up 5 people to the membership, I'd be happy. Mm-hmm. That takes skill and resilience.
You got engagement.
Yeah. So I got to have somebody who's got a little bit of a skill. And so that's more of a closer than a business development person is the way I look at it. Okay? One is going to come up with creativity on how to get business. One is just going to take the lead you give them, in my opinion, try to close it.
And as I scale, so if I start with a setter and then I don't need a closer, I'm doing the closing, right? Then as I get larger, then I would say, okay, I need a setter, a closer, but in this case, I need a strategist, right? Like a business developer who can do the nurturing.
Yeah, I mean, a good business development person, you could say, look, we're doing $10,000 a month, and I really want to be doing $50,000 a month. Now, you come up with a strategy to get us from 10 to 50. Very few people can do this, by the way. Very few people are needle movers, right? And a needle mover says, I'll take this, I can get us to 50. That's what I do. And it's exactly the way I'm going to do it, okay? So I found that there's not a lot of people who are really that skilled at that.
And if they fail, it's just opportunity cost. I have to.
Yeah, I mean, and you're gonna try people, and they're not going to work, and you're going to try other people, and some people are going to work, and you're going to spend a bunch of money, and then you're going to say, I shouldn't have spent all that money, and I like performance-based compensation. If you really believe in yourself, if you're selling houses on nothing but commission, then why would you come work for me on commission? So I put out last week that I was going to hire 5 new salespeople, and they could earn between $100,000 and $150,000 a year. 10 people immediately emailed in and said they wanted to take that job, okay, or they were interested. I said, then I go, okay, step 2, I'm going to show you how you can earn $150,000 a year working for me, and that is by selling 5 memberships a week. That's 1 a day. If you sell 1 a day, you can make $150,000 a year, okay? Because I pay $500 per membership to the salesperson, right up front. So if you sell 5 a week, that's $2,500 a week, right? That's $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. If you just sell 1 a day, or we sell 2 one day and don't sell 1 day, okay? What if I told you that from the 10 who were interested, only 3, after getting that email, only 3 said, I'd like to go to round 2. Okay. What they really wanted was me to give them $100,000, whether they performed or didn't perform. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm like, I don't operate that way. Okay, when you really study negotiating, when you don't have, the worst time to negotiate is when you don't have anything to negotiate. You with me? Yeah. So when you show me no performance If I were going into work for Coach Burt, I'd say, look, I'll take whatever you want to give me for the first 90 days. At the end of 90 days, if I've shown myself, then I'd like to sit down and talk about the terms of my agreement. You with me? And I'd come in and just freaking crush it. And then I'd say, this is what I'd like. Okay? But very few people do that. They want all the money up front. So only 3 were tough enough. Then I said, let's go to round 3. And round 3 is this. I'm actually trying to discourage them to take this job. I'm actually trying to see how tough they really are. Okay? To really come work with me. You with me? Because I know how tough this is. This business is. Okay? So when I'm looking at my A to B's, to your point, I'm looking at businesses. And I'm going, this business needs this. This business needs 2 closers. This business needs better marketing, which I just hired. This person needs this. This business needs business development and marketing. Okay? This business needs me to focus on these businesses. So what do I need to do specifically? I've got an insurance play I'm working on. I got a coffee company I'm involved in. I got, I've got a publicly traded company I'm on the board of. It's like boom, boom, boom. These things need this. When you're going idea to execution, each thing needs attention. So it's like, what do I need to do today? So I go looking for my who's. Who can help me do this? Who could help me do this? Who could help me do this? And I'm trying to get over here to B. And B is very clear. Now, how many times do I do this exercise?
Multiple times a day.
Every day. I may do it 2 or 3 times. I may do it 2 or 3 times in the same day. So I was on a plane yesterday. I'm sitting there doing this exercise. What do I like to do? What do I hate to do? I'm really looking for cash flow in businesses right now. Okay, I have equity coming out of my ears. Okay, I got so much equity. I'm like, I'm tired of people giving me equity. Okay, because can I borrow against the equity? Yes. So one example I was looking at doing, this is a creative. So I'm out walking around my house in Florida one day, and I walk a lot when I'm down in Florida, and I just think, and I'm on the phone with people, and I'm like, man, I got all this stock in this publicly traded company. What can I do? I don't want to cash it out because I got a big tax implication. I could borrow against it. What if I borrowed against the stock that I have in this publicly traded company and put it into the data centers, which kick off cash flow? See where I'm going? You put $800,000 in the data center at 48%, and you're getting $34,000 a month. And if I'm looking for, if my brain is thinking cash flow. So when I'm doing A to B, I'll go cash flow. Do I like equity? Yes, but so one day it just clicked. I got the stock. Let me borrow against the stock and go put it into the data centers. Now I got $40,000 a month coming into cash flow. That's $480,000 a year. Borrowed against the stock that I own. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Now, first thing I do is I pick up the phone and I call people who have a lot of stock. And I say, do you borrow against your stock? And they're like, yes. That's what we do. They said very few people sell their stock. Very few big time people sell the stock they have in companies. They borrow against it and then they go do something else. But if I borrow against it and go put it into a real estate property that's just equity, I really would rather put it into something that would cash flow. And if my brain is looking for cash flow, you just keep working the muscle. You keep working the muscle, and then it's like, boom, that's what I need to do right there. Okay, so that's one of the things I'm looking at doing. Okay, now, any other questions on this part right here? Because we're going to keep breaking it down. Because by the end of the day, what I want for you, my goal for you, and for the people who are watching us online is real simple. I want us to pick a singular idea, one idea. I want us to decide who we need in between A and B. And I want us to decide the exact steps that we're going to take to manifest the idea. Okay? And I want it to be a big idea that solves a problem that gets you to these goals over here. See, if I got $480,000 coming in positive cash flow over here from me doing nothing, it's highly profitable, it's highly enjoyable. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
Like, now that's hitting my sweet spot. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to get on a plane. I don't have to be away from my kids. I don't have to go do anything. I can just put it into this. Okay? So stumbling into the data centers and creating Blue Marlin Capital was one of the best. And do you know I passed on that idea the first time they brought it to me? They brought me the idea and said, we want you to be a partner in this. And I first go, seems boring. Like, I don't want to do that. And Jana on my team is former military. She was an intel analyst in the Navy, and she sat there all day long and studied bad people. and intel and data. And she understood that data centers and information, and she come to me and she said, I want you to take another look at this. I know you get pitched a lot of ideas. Take a look at this one again. And here's why. So I brought him back in again, and I said, pitch it to me again. Okay, and then I formed Blue Marlin Capital, which I own 100% of. And then I partnered with Blue Marlin Data Fund, and we formed, and I own 50% of that company, and they own 50% of it. And then we raised the capital when we went purchase these racks of data. And then we ship them to Anniston, Alabama. And it's like buying little apartment complexes with data. And the rents pay the investors and pay the general partners. Everybody see that? Now, if you'd have told me 3 years ago I'd have a fund that invests in data centers, I'd be like, what? I don't do that. So as I've gotten older, I've also gotten more flexible in my thinking versus fixed. And I'm more open to possibilities than I used to be, because I'm really looking for an outcome over here.